Hello Tamers, Regina or Jigglypuff here, and I am here today with a Sakuyamon DeckList from BT24, or with BT24 updates at least. I am so in love with this Digimon. I'm so happy we got a starter deck for her, and despite the fact that she got hit by a ban list, I think she is stronger than ever, and I guess the ban list didn't really do much, right? But I'm super excited about this, and as always, thank you so much for checking out this video. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that all you really need for this deck is actually 2 copies of Amethyst Mandala, the starter deck 22. If anything, if you have friends who bought a couple copies of this because they, like me, were trying to chase the rare pool for this Renamon in this deck, then you can ask your friends for the extra copies of this. They give you literally everything that you need in this deck. In fact, this deck list, I think, only has 2 cards that are not available in starter deck 22, which to me, absolutely wild. Like, this deck out of the box is one of the, it's a powerhouse in and of itself. So again, all you really need 2 copies of this. If you don't want to go find the 2 cards that aren't available in here, you can just supplement it with cards that are in the starter deck. So I honestly am so happy that it's possible to just pick this up and have a competitive deck for Digimon. That's so wild. It's great. Now, we're going to start off with the egg. The only egg that you'll need for this deck is the Viximon from the starter deck itself. This is the starter 22 one. So on your turn, when you use an option card with the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait, this Digimon may digivolve into a Digimon with Kyubi, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in its name in your hand with the Digivolution cost reduced by 3. Super important to note that it does say in its name, so that does mean technically the Domon or the Yokomons and stuff are also treated as having Kyubimon and Taomon in its name. The Kuzuha as well also is treated as in its name, the older Kuzuhas. So the neat thing about this is a lot of the times it means that your 5 can go into a 6, and there's a lot of cards in this deck that can help you use option cards for free, specifically the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait option cards. And also, because it does say Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait, that does mean that you cannot use a lot of the older plugins, as they do not have a trait in there, they just have plugin in the name. So please keep in mind that important distinction, that the trait and the name are 2 very different things. And as much as it hurts me to say it, the EX2 Viximon, as much as I love her and her alt art, are no longer really needed in this deck. If I could, I would 100% use it because I do think that it's such a cute alt art. But 1 egg, and then we go on to our rookies. Our level 3s, we're going to start off with a 4 of the Renamon from EX8. It is a box topper. It was also originally printed in BT17, and you can find it in Starter 22. They give you so much in this deck, guys. This is an on-play Renamon that has reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Then you add a card with Kyubi, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in its name, and you add a Rika or a use cost 2 or higher option card among them to your hand. Then you return the rest to the bottom of the deck. In this entire deck list, there is only 1 card that this Renamon doesn't pick up, and it's your level 7, which is, I guess, a spoiler. I love this card. I honestly, when I am playing this deck, I generally try to mulligan for having this in my opening hand because I think it's so important to your game plan. 9 times out of 10, it will pick up 2 things when you do a search, right? Because you're either picking up something that you need from the line, and then you can pick up an option card, or you're picking up a Rika. And it's honestly just dependent on what's in your hand at that moment, but I love having this in my opening hand, and I love having another rookie to evo to in the back. And her inherit is when you use an option card with a cost 2 or more, you give one of your opponent's Digimon secure attack -1 to the end of their turn. So it is a good way to help stifle a little bit of your opponent's game plan, but most importantly, this is such a good search. And if you're playing scrambles in the deck, it's also a very good Digimon to bring back onto the field as a search as well. Honestly, 10 out of 10 card, running 4 of it for a reason, right? I am also running 3 of the Renamon from EX2, which is also found in Starter Deck 22. This is an on-play reveal top 4. You add a card with Kyubi, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in its name, and then you add a Rika among them to your hand, then the rest go to the bottom of your deck. This one I try actually not to play as often. I find that its search hurts a little bit more and more with the fact that it doesn't pick up any plugins. And plugins is what really makes this deck kind of run and help facilitate it into a machine of a deck. So generally, this is the rookie that I'll use to evolve in the back because its inherit is what helps me win games later on. The inherit for this Renamon is on your turn. When you use an option card with a cost 2 or more, you gain a memory. And with the fact that this format doesn't seem to be running a lot of floodgate rookies, and I mean the ones that say you cannot gain, players can't gain memory except by tamer effects, I find that this Renamon is a little bit more powerful in that sense because using the options basically means that you're using them for 1 less cost, 90% of that. It's just really, really good, and it helps extend your turns. And I just find that it is the Renamon that I usually have on the field when I'm going for that game-ending play. But only 3 of in this one, because the option, sorry, the memory gain is cool. The on play, if you're absolutely necessary and it's like there's nothing else in your hand to search, go for it. I just try my best not to on this one. Our next level 3s include the Renamon from the starter deck 22. This is a tiny, tiny little like flex humble brag. One of my friends actually did manage to pull the rare Renamon and they sold it to me for a very, very good price. I am so thankful for that. This is the art that I have in my deck and I'm so happy. It looks so pretty. This Renamon, I am... I'm sort of on the fence with it, right? And I really like it because it has a when moving effect and it has a barrier inherent. But I find that with the new promo that I'll be talking about later on, I find that it's semi-redundant in some ways. So for me, this card should just be at a 1 of. It is a when moving on play. You trash a card in your hand, then you return an option card with the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait from your trash to the hand. I have expressed before in other videos how I feel about hand trashing effects. I'm not the biggest fan of them, just because I find that the more cards you have in your hand, the more options that you have available to you. And so trashing something to get something back is a little rough sometimes. Like, yes, I would love to pick up my Amethyst Mandalas every single time. But it is an optional effect, but also as a friendly reminder, because this is a when moving effect, so when you push out from the breeding area, it will activate before the start of your main phase triggers. So anything that has a start of main phase won't activate until this is finished resolving if you choose to do so. So it does have some good synergy with the Rika that is unique to the starter deck. I do like it. I just, from my personal testing, I have found that I like it best as a 1 of because I don't find myself using it as often because I'll usually evolve on top of it. That being said, my last rookie is actually the Renamon X Antibody from EX8 and is also in this starter deck. I actually don't think this is in the starter deck. Sorry, there's 3 cards that are not in that are not in the deck that are in this deck list. So this Renamon is the X Antibody one from EX8. This is a on-play when digivolving. You return 1 option card with plug-in in its name from your trash to the hand, and the inherent for this one is when you use an option card, you give one of your opponent's Digimon minus 2 KDP for the turn. I like this one in synergy with the Renamon from Starter 22 because what you could do is when you move, you can pitch a card for the Renamon, grab back something like an Amethyst Mandala, and then you can evolve this Renamon on top of the starter deck Renamon and just grab back that plugin, hopefully, if that's what you trashed, right? So you basically don't have to trash anything and you still get the card, and you get an extra draw on top of it. This is also an on-play effect, so you could technically scramble off of it as well if you felt like it, if you really need to get a specific plugin back from your trash. It was a little bit more powerful when you were using the original plugins in there, like the Evolution plugin. I will also say that I like this Renamon a lot because it does not require that you have a regular Renamon or an X Antibody option or protoform underneath it to get the full effect for it. So again, I'm running both of these as a 1 of because they are less important in the long term and I usually use them as evolution fodder. If they come up, then it's great. I'm not that hurt over it if they don't, right? But that's it for our level 3s. We're going to move on to our level 4s. I'm running a 4 with the Kyubimon from the starter deck. This is a when moving, when digivolving effect. You reveal the top 3 cards. You add a Renamon, Kyubi, Tao, or Sakuya, or a Rika in its name, or the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait from them to the hand, return rest of the bottom of the deck. So it's a reveal top 3, pick up 1, essentially. And as painful as that is lately because there's a lot of stuff that lets you pick up 2 cards, it is still a really good thing on a level 4 because of the fact that it's a when moving effect. So you feel less bad evolving in your breeding area and then pushing this out because you can evolve this in the main field, get the effect, or you can evolve in the back like some of us are wont to do, and then when you push out from breeding, you can go ahead and do the when moving effect. And again, I think it's really neat that you're able to do that because it punishes you less for evolving in the back. The best thing about this Kyubimon, it has a barrier inherent. It's so great. I finally got to give back my friend their limited foil Starmons, and I was really happy to be able to have this Kyubimon in here. So, love it at a 4 of. I think it is really powerful in the deck, and I'm very happy that they printed it in here. That being said, the other Kyubimon I am running is 3 of the BT19 Kyubimon originally. It is also printed in Starter 22 as a foil. Absolutely, I switched them out so my deck is shiny. I am so vain. I'm so sorry, guys. I really love this deck. This has a one digivolving effect. If you have 1 or fewer Tamers, you can play your Rika from your hand without paying the cost. Love this card in a lot of ways. Its inherent is also pretty nice. When you use an option card with a cost 2 or more, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2 KDP for the turn. With the way that this deck plays, I have found myself wanting this specific Kyubimon, the BT19 one. I've found it wanting less and less in my hand as opposed to the starter 22 one. The search is a little bit better. I do love being able to play the Rika for free. It's great. That's why it's at a 3 of. At a certain point, you know, you're going to have more than 2 Rika, and then this is not quite a dead card in your hand because it's still a level 4, but it doesn't have, it's just basically a vanilla at that point. And because you're running so many Tamers, there's a semi-high chance that they might hit it in your security as well. But still nice to be able to play something for free off of this. I just found that the more that I play this deck, the more that I prefer the starter deck Kyubimon over this Kyubimon. That doesn't say they're not both great, but they are our only level 4s in the deck. So we're going to move on to our level 5s. Taomon from the starter deck. Running at a 4 of, I love this card. This card is absolutely insane. It is so good. Every now and then I look at it and go, why did they give us this card? This card has a 7 cost, it's a 7 cost card if you hard slam it. It's totally fine. On play and when digivolving. Until your opponent's turn ends, one of their Digimon can't activate when digivolving effects and gets minus 3k DP. Now, this is basically the same as the pause plugin that you used to run. It was a 5 cost yellow plugin that has until the end of your opponent's turn. Basically, one of their Digimon gets minus 6k and can't activate when digivolving effects. It was a great way to stifle anything that you thought would be an ace target. 6k DP usually gets something off of the field with all of the inherits that you're stacking up. But this is so nice because when you evolve into this, a lot of the times I feel like lately we're in a single stack format for Digimon where there's not a lot of bodies on the field except for the one. So you generally know what a potential ace target is, and the fact that it stops the one digivolving effects until your opponent's turn ends, to me that means it makes it really difficult for them to do anything with a stack that they have been building on. And it is so fantastic because then it means you can do your things freely without worrying about getting aced back or about that Digimon that they have on there getting evolved on top of and dealing with your board. So it is a pretty neat card in that way, and I understand why they made it minus 3k DP as opposed to the minus 6 like the option, because that would have been absolutely busted. Its one attacking effect is also really good. You may use an option card with the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait from your hand or under your Tamers without paying the cost. This is really great because in conjunction with the Viximon inherit from the egg, it means while you're attacking with this Taomon, you can use an option card and then you can evo into a level 6. Is that wild? Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic. It's such a good card, guys. The absolutely insane thing is, as if that wasn't good enough, the inherit for this Taomon is end of attack once per turn. By trashing your top security card, one of your Digimon with Sakuyamon in its name unsuspends. The fact that it says one of your Digimon, not this Digimon with Sakuyamon in its name unsuspends, just one of them. Just one of them. It doesn't matter. So, honestly, it just basically means that for the most part, your level 6s can at least get 2 checks in, especially if you have barrier. You should keep note, though, that, like, to be able to activate this, you do have to be able to trash a security card, so please keep that in mind. But absolutely a 4 of. Running 4 5s is absolutely maniacal, so we are also running 1 Taomon. This Taomon actually had a couple of different reprints, so I am using the limited foil from the Billion Bullet P Bandai drop that had happened because I love the limited foils. But this can also be found in BT17 and Starter 22, so you don't have to worry about that. I just wanted to show that there's a couple other places that you can look for in this. So that way, in case you run into like the yellow border Taomon, you're not like, this wasn't in the starter deck. It was a P Bandai drop, so you're fine. This one was the premier Taomon back before Sakuyamon got hit. This has barrier, and when digivolving, you can use an option card that is yellow or has plugin in its name from your hand with the cost reduced by 2. This is what chained up into like absolute like maniacal things, because you could use the evolution plugin, scrambles, trainings, everything like that. In one turn, this Taomon could go from a Taomon to a Chaosmon. So it's pretty neat. It's one attack. Its inherit is a one attacking. If this Digimon has Sakuyamon in its name, then you can use an option card that is yellow or has plugin in its name with a reduced cost of 2 as well. So the same thing as the one digivolving effect. Now that I've played the deck a couple more times, this Taomon specifically feels a little bit bad. Not like bad terrible, but like it feels worse in comparison to the starter deck Taomon, because the starter deck Taomon is a little bit more aggressive because it gets you more checks and lets you unsuspend semi-freely. So love this Taomon. It's a one of in this just because I needed another 5. I don't know that I would want to run 2. And at this point, as weird as it sounds, I don't think that the ace has as much of a place in this deck. Um, and it feels very odd to say that. As much as I love the ace, I don't think that I would put that Taomon ace over this Taomon from BT17. So that's it for our fives. Now we go to the sixes. The sixes are where the fun begins, folks. We are running 3 of the Sakuyamon main mode from starter 22. This main mode is absolutely silly. I have won a couple of games by just playing this for 11 memory. It's kind of wild, honestly. She has an on-play effect. Why? I don't know. She has an on-play and a when digivolving effect, so you may use an option card with the on-myo jutsu or plug-in trait from your hand or under your tamers without paying the cost, and then she has an all-turns effect. When you use option cards or your security stack is removed from, you can place one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP as the bottom security card to trash their top security. I would also like to point out that it says by placing one of your opponent's Digimon, right? So if something is preventing them from placing it into the security, you do not fulfill the conditions and you cannot trash. This means if somebody Kongos you, Kongo is a 2-cost black option that says your opponent's Digimon with cost 7 or lower can't attack you, and players can't add to their security stacks. So if they Kongo you and you try to Sakuyamon, you cannot add their Digimon to the top. So, and you cannot trash. So it's very interesting. But this basically means that on the turn that you play her, you can use something like Amethyst Mandala or like any other option card in your hand, and then you can get rid of a body on their field for the most part. And it makes it a little bit difficult for them because this Sakuyamon is actually a target for Sakuyamon Ace, which is absolutely hilarious. But it also means that when they hit your security, if they don't have anything to get rid of the Sakuyamon on that initial check, then the Sakuyamon will trigger after the security effect has been fully resolved and she's still in the field. So I really love her. The issue that I have with her is that I never want to evolve on top of her until I'm ready to go for game, because she is such a threat with that all turns effect that it makes it slightly like difficult to play around for a lot of folks. So there's a lot of resources that need to be put into getting rid of the Sakuyamon main mode. That being said, I'm also running 3 of the Sakuyamon Ace from starter 22. This also eves on top of main mode for cost of 1. So yes, you can ping pong back and forth between them as long as you have them. I've done it once and I've given my opponent 10 memory on act. No, yeah, 10 memory because I think I had a couple different aces on there, so we overflowed a lot. This has a hand counter timing for so you can evolve on top of Sakuyamon main mode. It's an on play when digivolving, and when attacking, you can play a Pipe Fox token that has blocker. And then you can use an option card with the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait from your hand or under your tamers without paying the cost. She also has Alliance. So this means that this Sakuyamon is normally never swinging for just 11,000 DP. She's usually swinging for a little bit more, and she gives you a blocker. Will you ever keep that as a blocker? No, not unless you're like ace counter timing against your opponent. It's also a 6-cost drop, so there are some times where your hand just absolutely won't work with you, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to hard drop the Sakuyamon, get a blocker on the field, next turn I can get 2 checks, potentially, if you don't get rid of it. The fact that this has Alliance is so funny to me. As a heads up, if you are swinging with the Taomon and then evolving into this Sakuyamon Ace in the middle of that Taomon's attack, Alliance was not present at the time of the attack declaration, so you cannot Alliance with the blocker token that you make at that moment. However, once you unsuspend with the Taomon and inherit, because you've evolved into the Sakuyamon Ace, you can now use Alliance. So Alliance timing is very interesting, but I really like the Sakuyamon. I think the only reason I'm going to get as a 3 of is because I wanted to make space for the other cards. If I had to cut other cards, I would probably bump this up to a 4 because it is slightly aggressive. Just for me, running 4 aces feels a little weird. I'm not used to running that many aces because for the most part, aces feel like not quite a tech card, but a more out of, oh, I have to try to bait my opponent into thinking that I'm going to have an ace target. So still love her. I think this card is really, really good, especially for just a 6-cost drop. Like, that's wild. We are going to move on to our next level 6s. This includes 2 of the Sakuyamon X Antibody. You can find this from EX8, or also included is in Starter 22. They gave her such a pretty gold border in this one, and I absolutely love it. It is so stunning. This Sakuyamon is so fun. This Sakuyamon X Antibody is what wins you games. She has a when digivolving effect. If Sakuyamon or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, you play a Uka no Mitama token, which has Rush. It's a 9000 DP token with Rush. I don't know why they made it 9k DP. Like, that's wild. It also evolves on top of a level 6 with Sakuyamon in its name that doesn't have the X antibody trait for cost of 1, so you can't just evolve Sakuya X on top of Sakuya X. Her Your Turn effect is not conditional on you having a Sakuyamon or an X antibody in the traits, which is, I think, where I'm still mind blown, like, a year later, right? So, when one of your Digimon, so any Digimon, it does not have to be this stack. When one of your Digimon attacks, you can use a single color option card with a use cost of 5 or less from your hand without paying the cost. If this effect was used, one of your Digimon unsuspends. I will say I love that they put the caveat of 5 or less because that means you cannot use Amethyst Mandala for this effect. That would be absolutely broken. But essentially, you can swing with a Rush token first if you want to, and then on the swing of the Rush token, you can use an option card, unsuspend something else, or you can swing with the Sakuyamon X, use like her effect, unsuspend her, unsuspend anything that can be targeted for unsuspension on your field. So, really, really fun to use. Usually, once somebody puts out a Sakuya X antibody, you can usually tell that like, oh, okay, like that's probably it for the game. Great card. 2 of them in the deck though, because I don't know that I would like to see it more than those 2 times. And then the last level 6 that I am running, and this is actually one of the newer ones. This is the one that's not included in the deck. This is the Kuzuha promo. This is a BT24 like box topper chance. I love this Kuzuha. This Kuzuha is actually why I cut down the starter deck Renamon to a 1 of. So when this card would be played, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, you reduce the play cost by 4. And so that means she can be a 7-drop, so she's only 1 more than the ace. She also evolves on top of a main mode in the name for a cost of 1. And then she has an on-play effect that's the same as her 1 Digivolving effect. You can use 1 Omiyojutsu or plug-in trait option card from your hand or your trash without paying the cost. And when I remember when I read this promo, I was like, oh my gosh, it plays from the trash. Like, that's wild. It is a very purple card type thing to do to be able to play from trash, but it does mean that you don't have to worry about things getting hit in security in terms of your option cards, because not all your option cards will go to your hand. So you can just be like, I'm going to hard play this, and like basically your trash is the second hand for options for her, specifically for the Onmyo-jutsu or the plug-in option traits, right? And then all turns once per turn, when you use an option card, so it doesn't even have to be like the Onmyo-jutsu or a plug-in trait one, it's just when you use an option card. You can make a Pipe Fox token. Reminder that it does say May for these ones. For this Kuzuha, the Sakuyamon is mandatory, but the Kuzuha is not. The reason that's semi-important is if you're playing against something like Medieval Galamon or things that care about playing Digimon by effects. So please keep that in mind, that Sakuyamon X is mandatory to make the token if you meet the requirements. Kuzuha is an optional one. So the most important thing about this Kuzuha is that little black text box at the bottom that says rule, name, also treated as Sakuyamon. It does not say also treated as Sakuyamon in its name like the old Kuzuha, like the blue and yellow one. This one specifically says is also treated as Sakuyamon. Why is that important? It's because Sakuyamon X Antibody cares about specifically just Sakuyamon. It cannot be Sakuyamon main mode. It cannot be Kuzuha with Sakuyamon in its name. It has to be strictly Sakuyamon. So Sakuyamon Ace meets that requirement. Kuzuha now meets that requirement because it is treated as Sakuyamon, full stop. I find that it was such an upgrade to Kuzuha, and it was absolutely like phenomenal to have it as there. So for all intents and purposes in the game, they are one and the same Digimon despite their difference in like their color scheme. So X Antibody, if you evolve on top of Kuzuhamon, the promo, you can make the Rush token. You have to make the Rush token actually because it is treated as Sakuyamon. The blue and yellow Kuzuha that has treated as Sakuyamon in its name, you cannot make it because it is not Sakuyamon. It's Sakuyamon in its name. Hopefully that makes a little bit sense. I have been testing with the Kuzuha. I love it because unfortunately a lot of the times I am playing it for 7 cost, but it means I can play cards from my trash and it opens up a different world of possibilities because then I get to make blockers as well, and it's pretty neat, and then you can go into main mode on top of it later on. So I really like this card a lot, and it's also very pretty. That is it for the level 6s, but it's not it for the Digimon. This is the last card in this deck that is not found in the advanced starter deck for Amethyst Mandala. This is going to be a one-of copy of Nyabootmon. This is from BT22. I love puppets. I think puppets are great. I was talking to one of my locals when this deck first came out, and we were discussing deck lists for it because we'd both been playing Sakuyamon at a couple of events. And he showed me this card, and I went, "Why are you playing in Nyabu?" And he goes, "Oh, it has Overclock." And I went, "Oh, holy crackers, you're right." Because Overclock, even though it has Puppet trait, Overclock also just cares about tokens. So Overclock is specifically token or a Digimon with whatever trait they have for that Overclock. So it's Overclock a token or you Overclock a Digimon with Puppet trait, right? You do not care about its one digivolving effect, really. You don't care about the alterns, honestly, because it cares about the Nyaboot cares about playing a level 4 lower Puppet trait Digimon, and then you can do the minus DP to a bunch of stuff, and at that point you usually have a lot of stuff on the field. So it's kind of nice to board wipe a little bit. You care about the overclock. With this Nyaboot in hand, there is a line of gameplay where you can actually OTK, so one turn kill your opponent, literally in one turn. All you need to do is make sure that you have like either 1 or 2 memory depending on what type of deck your opponent is playing. You can go from a level 5 into a 7 in that same turn and win the game. Like, barring anything crazy in their security, you can do all 5 checks plus 1 at the end because this Nyaboot has overclock. Doesn't matter, as long as you can get the 5 checks, you usually have a token that you can still use for the overclock. It's usually your blocker token from Sakuyamon Ace, but there is a world where you can have this Nyaboot and you can just go through all your opponent's security in one turn and then swing for game. It's absolutely wild. It's so funny. But a 1-up for this level 7 because it is usually a brick in your hand otherwise for your game plan. If you really want to be funny, you could probably bump this up to 2 and either cut a Kuzuha or maybe a rookie or maybe potentially to add. There's not a lot of like really good flex spots for a second Nyabootmon in my opinion, which is why it's only at 1. But that's it for the Digimon, so we're going to move on to the Tamers. I'm running 2 of the Rika Nonaka from the starter deck. This is a 4-cost Rika, and she is unfortunately not a memory setter. The only memory setter for Rika is actually the EX2 Rika, and as much as I would love to use her, I haven't really found any justification to put her in this deck. So she has the start of main phase and an on-play effect. You place an option card with the Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait from your hand under this Tamer, then you draw 1 and gain a memory. So I like this because when you play it from security, you can actually steal somebody's turn if they're at 0 memory, because you place an option card underneath it and you're like, I'm going to draw and I'm going to gain a memory. It's my turn. And then you give them a thumbs up. And then on your turn, when one of your Digimon with Renamon, Kyubimon, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in its name attacks, you can suspend this Tamer, you can use an Onmyo Jutsu or plug-in trait option card with as high or lower a use cost as that Digimon's level from under this Tamer without paying the cost. Basically, if you tuck in Amethyst Mandalas underneath there, your level 6s can use them. If you tuck in any other plugin, your level 4s and lower can your level 5s and sorry, your 6s and lowers can all use them. So it's very interesting. I think you very rarely will be using her your turn effect. I think I've maybe done it twice is what I can remember, yeah. But you usually just use it for the extra draw and for the memory gain. Please keep a reminder that if you are playing against somebody who does have Tamer hate in their deck, if they pop this Rika Tamer from the field, then you'll lose all those options into your trash as well. So just keep that in mind. You also do not have to only stack 1 option card underneath this. You can do as many as options every turn that you have. So if the first turn you have her out, you have an option card to plug in under there, you can do it. Second, you can keep going. You can absolutely have as many options as is legally allowed in there, which is whatever the title, like whatever the named one is. I'm also actually running 3 of the Rika from BT19, which is also found in starter deck 22. This is the 3-cost Rika, which is an on-play effect. You reveal the top 3 cards. You add a Digimon with Renamon, Kyubi, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in its name, and then 1 option with plugin in its name among them to the hand. So she doesn't pick up the Amethyst Mandala, which I guess is okay. Then you return the rest of the bottom of the deck, and then on your turn, when you use an option card with a use cost of 2 or more, you can suspend the Tamer to gain a memory. Effectively, it makes all of your option cards cost 1 less if you have her on the field, and with the Renamon from EX2, it would effectively makes all of your option cards cost 2 less. So it makes for some very interesting math in late game, but I like this one a lot just because it adds, if you're very, very lucky, it adds 2 things. If you're unlucky, it'll add 0 things. I have definitely hit nothing but incorrect searches off of this Rika before, but I think this Rika is really, really good still. It is a little bit more of a late game um, chance for me versus the starter deck one, which I think the starter deck one is just helping to get your hand, like to fix your hand a little bit and to give you a little bit more memory to work with. So those are the only two Tamers we're running, and now we're moving on to our options. The first of the options that I am running in here are two of the physical trainings. So this is promo 105. You can get it either as a BT14 box topper. It is also found in both starters 18 and 19, and in starter 22. This Renamon version that I have up on the screen is actually from a Bandai Fest. It's a collectible one. It has all 5 trainings on there. I was very lucky to be able to get them from some of my One Piece players who know I play Digimon. But I love trainings. I know that a lot of people cut trainings from here. I still find that they have value in this deck specifically because it will pick up everything but the plug-in options, and so it's just another way to get some cards in your hand, and it is also a really good way to activate your cost 2 or more if you are looking for ways to activate those. And it's also a good way to cheapen evolution costs because that's a good way to extend your turn. So I do like having these. I think they're really neat to have. I am also only running 2 of them because I don't think the deck requires 4 like it used to. I'm also running 2 yellow scrambles still. I like scrambles in this deck. I don't like scrambles in every single deck. I think scrambles in this deck are really good because it means that you only really have to pay like 1 cost for most of your main mode stuff. I love this card. So main is one of your yellow Digimon may digivolve into a yellow Digimon card in your hand with the cost reduced by 3. Then you place it in the battle area. It has a start a turn effect. So if your opponent has a Digimon, you delay. You return a yellow Digimon card from your trash to the top of your deck. Then if you don't have a Digimon, you can play a little yellow Digimon card with 2 KDP or less from your trash without paying the cost. Important, this is going to happen before any of your like semi-unsuspend phases, so please make sure that you keep note of that. I also just find that it's a really good way to help fix your deck in case things go wrong. So if you're like, I'm missing a 4, you can scramble for your 4 because it's in your trash. You can put it back on top of your deck and be like, I'll just play out this random like rookie. Sometimes it'll search something, sometimes it won't. But at least you can guarantee that you have the card that you're going to need, right? So I do find that scrambles still have a little bit of place in here. Oh, it is also found in the LMs. This is actually found specifically originally in the LM limited set that came out from P Bandai. However, it got reprinted in so many starter decks. So from starter 20, 21, and 22, we have all the scramble reprints. Good card. Glad they reprinted it semi-consistently, honestly. There's a couple really cool arts for it, and I really love all of them. So, our next options, we are going to be running 2 of the offensive plugin V. This is found in Starter Deck 22. This is a 4-cost option that while you have a Tamer, you can ignore this card's color requirements. From your security, it'll have a delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP, then you add this to the card. Main, you can link this card to one of your Digimon without paying the cost, then delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as one of your Digimon. The main part of this as well is you do have to pay the so you can link it without paying the cost, but you still have to, like, if you don't have the Tamer, you have to meet the color requirements. The linking effect of this one is you just pay 2. And so I'm pretty sure because you are linking, you don't have to meet color requirements, you just have to meet the link requirements. So it is very weird. However, linking a Digimon card is not the same as using an option card, so please keep that in mind. Linking is really weird outside of app monsters. It's so confusing sometimes. The linking is still the same thing when you link it. You delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much DP, or I'm pretty sure is the way that one works. I'd have to double check. Linking is really weird. I very rarely actually have to pay the link cost because you just use these options for free from the deck. Also, as a friendly reminder, you see that little black text that says link plus 2 KDP? That plus 2 KDP is all turns. So all turns, whatever Digimon this is attached to has plus 2 KDP. And then the end of attack for the link on the side is this Digimon may attack. Have I ever used it? No, because I'm usually already attacking with the Digimon, or the Digimon's already been turned sideways. The other option that I'm using is 3 of the high-speed plugin H from Starter 22. Even though Sakuyamon Ace gets a pretty good buff with the Alliance stuff, I love jamming. This is a 3-cost option, actually, and it has the security effect of until your turn ends, one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers can't suspend, then you add it to the card. And then the main effect is you link this card to one of your Digimon without paying the cost. Then one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers can't suspend until their turn ends. It is also a link requirement of a level 3 or higher if you pay 2 cost for it. Again, it's plus 2k all turns for this one. I just really like jamming. If I can find a way to have jamming in there, I will absolutely do it, like every single time. The blue plugin was one of my favorites because it was a plugin and can't be blocked. Can't be blocked has been outdated because you now should have can't be redirected, but I still like this one. It is also a really good stun card. In a format where there's a lot of Liberator decks running around, you can stun their Tamers so that they can't activate their emblems. You can stun blockers, really. So you can be like, oh yeah, you have one blocker left. That's totally fine. I'm just gonna use this option card. You can't turn it sideways. It will catch some people by surprise. In this certain case, I would say probably assess your opponent's board a little bit more before you decide what to stun. Sometimes stunning a Digimon or a Tamer can make all the difference in your opponent's next turn, and I've found that in Liberator decks, if I don't think that they can play another Tamer out, then I will usually stun the Tamer so they can't activate something like an emblem. So I do like this card, that's why it's at 3. And our last card, and our last option is, of course, Amethyst Mandala. This is a 4 of in the deck, absolutely. Like, it does not matter to me that it is 6 cost. Will I ever pay the 6 cost? No. I don't think that I have ever paid the 6 cost for Amethyst Mandala so far. So when an effect trashes this... Okay, so this is a 4 of in the deck. Absolutely. It is like the signature move, technically, of Sakuyamon. Love this card. This card is actually so silly. I don't know why Bandai printed it still. I'm still like wondering that. So when effects trash this card from your security stack, you activate its security effect. So as a heads up, the reason that security effect is for the yellow in that yellow box is pink is because that's when it's face up. Okay? So security, while it's face up, all turns, when any of your Digimon with Renamon, Kyubi, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in their names would leave the battle area other than in battle, you can trash this card and then one of those Digimon doesn't leave. It does not protect you from DP reduction still. So if you are at 0 DP, you could still trash this. However, games check and rules will still say, hey, you're still at 0 DP, so by the game's rules, you do still have to leave the battlefield. It does not negate that, so please keep that in mind. The main effect is you draw 1, then you place this card face up as the bottom security card. Can you have more than one Amethyst Mandala in your security? Yeah. Have I had 4 of them in my security at one time? Yes. I felt so bad for my friend because we were testing it. I was like, this feels really not fair right now. Security effect is one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 9,000 DP for the turn. So if you were to trash this face-up Amethyst Mandala to protect one of your Digimon, you will activate the security in the yellow box down there, which is minus 9,000 DP. You can activate, whenever it would happen, you can activate multiple Mandalas at the same time, essentially. So if you have 4 Mandalas, it doesn't have to be like, oh, each time. It's like, let's say they target one Digimon, and you're like, oh, it's going to leave. So all 4 of your Mandalas will see that happening, so you can trash them. You will trash them one at a time, like have them resolve one at a time, but it doesn't have to be like a one-time activation per thing. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Love this card. Like, honestly, no notes. Like, the smartest thing they did was make it 6 cost, so you can't play it for free off of Sakuyamon X Antibody. But honestly, that's probably like the only thing. So it's a great card. And that's it, folks. Yeah, I genuinely really love this deck. I think it's really fun. Again, you only really need to pick up 2 of the Amethyst Mandala cards. The only cards in this deck list that aren't available in the starter deck itself is the Renamon X Antibody, the promo Kuzuha, and then the Nyabootmon. And even then, you don't really need those to make this deck super powerful. You can tinker however you want with the starter deck itself. I just personally think that they make the deck a little bit more aggressive in some ways, and I personally think the Nyaboot is a great way to close out the game. So thanks for listening to me ramble about Sakuyamon. I obviously really enjoyed this deck, and it's been really fun to see all the support that it gets. Am I crying on the inside because all of the pretty cards for it are now going to be regional participation cards? Yeah, probably. They just announced the Sakuyamon main mode for this upcoming set of regionals, and I died on the inside, and it was not a fun meltdown on call, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the deck, and if you are new to Digimon and you picked up this deck list, I hope you've had a lot of fun with it. I think they did a great job, and I'm very excited to see where all the Sakuyamon stuff goes. So, again, thanks for joining me, and hopefully you all have a good day. So, bye bye.